Today we are working on killing rust. We have a GM A-body 12-bolt housing here, which is clearly rusted, it's pitted, it's kind of crusty. Well, this is getting prepped to go into our 1971 Buick GS convertible, which is a bit of a show car. So we want this thing to look really nice. In order to take care of all of this rust, we could send this off to a blaster, which would damage all of the internal areas. We don't want to do that. We want to keep this simple and keep it clean. We're going to do all of this with POR-15's 3-step rust stopping kit, which consists of cleaner degreaser, metal prep, and finally the rust preventative coating. This is actually going to be painted C7 Corvette Cyber Gray, so we're going to use the gray version of this. This stuff comes in black, both semi and gloss, silver and gray. We're going for the gray for this one. Once the rust preventative is cured, we're going to go over it with POR-15's High Build Primer. This is specifically formulated for POR-15's rust prevention coatings, and it has a really high build, so it's going to fill in those pits and little issues that you get from rust, and we're going to sand it down, smooth it out, so that we can paint it with our Cyber Gray and put it in our car. Let's get started. All right, so the first step is to clean it. So we're gonna put on some gloves, and I've got our cleaner degreaser already mixed from the last time we used it. So when you mix POR-15 cleaner degreaser, you always mix it with hot water. This is 4:1, which is the recommended strength. So we've got this, we're just gonna spray it on everything. This will remove dirt, grease, grime, all of that stuff that you want to get rid of. This is mostly clean, but we have some areas that have some stuck on grease, particularly in these little areas here. Okay, we've let this sit for a few minutes just to kind of work into some of the grease. So I'm going to take a stiff brush and start brushing on it. And you can already see that most of it's coming up. I'm going to hit it with a little more. You want to keep this wet. To speed this up, I've got a heavy bristle brush on my drill. This is optional. The hand brush does work, but this will be faster. Safety first. We've sprayed everything, it has soaked, and we used a scrub brush to work all the really crusty bits. So now we're gonna take this outside, we're gonna hose it off, we'll bring it back in and keep going. Our housing has been degreased, washed, and it is dry, so now it's time for metal prep. So we have put our metal prep into this spray bottle. Because this is rusty, we're going to spray this down really well and keep it wet for about 20 minutes. Then we'll wash it off again, let it dry, and then we can get to coating. All right, we've sprayed the entire rear end. We're gonna watch it, set a clock for about 20 minutes. We're gonna watch it, spray it occasionally to make sure it stays wet. All right, it's been 20 minutes. We're gonna take this outside, hose it down, dry it off, then we can get to painting. The housing is dry. It's ready to go. We've got it standing up on end. The only thing I need to do now is tape up this side, and I'm gonna cover up this side as well. housing taped up and it's fully prepped, ready to spray on our POR-15 Rust Preventative. I'm going to spray this vertically. I could use a cherry picker, but it's got an engine on it, so it's a big pain in the butt right now. So we're just going to leave this vertical. POR-15 Rust Preventative can be applied by spray or by brush. We're going to be using a traditional spray gun, so we're going to mix this up with about 5% reducer. This is POR-15 reducer specifically made for their products. So we're going to mix that up real quick. We've got 100 milliliters. I'm going to take this. 5% would be 5, so that's 3 milliliters, 2 milliliters. We've put up a little bit of masking so we don't get the studio covered in overspray. I've got my paint gun with a regulator and I'm gonna put my mask on. We'll fire this up. This stuff needs 2 coats. We'll wait about 15 minutes flash time between each coat, and then we'll allow this to dry overnight, come back, top coat it. We've let this flash for about 20 minutes, and now we're gonna spray it with some more. On this coat, the first one was a little thin, so I'm gonna run this without any reducer, get a little bit thicker. All right, we went ahead and flipped the housing over. We're gonna do a 3rd coat and top coat it with the High Build Primer. Now we're gonna mix up the High Build Primer. All POR-15 products are meant to be stirred, not shaken. So you don't wanna put this in a paint shaker. You just want to stir it with a paint stick. We're not going to thin this. We're gonna spray it straight up. So we're just going to pour this right into our cup. So we've let our housing dry for about 4 hours. It is slightly tacky, which is exactly what you want. You want this to be just a little bit tacky when you spray your High Build Primer or your top coat, whatever top coat you're using. That way you get a better mechanical and chemical bond to the rust preventer. We have our High Build Primer in the gun. This is a 3M gun with a 2.0 tip, which is what you want to use for High Build primers. First coat, we're going to do 2 coats on this side, then we will flip it over and we'll do 2 more coats so that we have a nice build so that we can sand this down, make it look good. We've got it flipped over. Now we're going to do 2 more coats to make sure we get everything on the horizontal surfaces to get them nice and coated. All right, that's about it. We've got 4 solid coats of our High Build Primer that we got from POR-15. we've got that on here. We did the rust preventative. This thing looks pretty good. The pits are filled in. We're gonna be able to sand those out and smooth this up and make it look real nice. We're gonna let this cure for about 24 hours before we touch it. Make sure you check out POR-15.com for all of their rust prevention and rust killing products. I love this stuff. It looks really good. We're gonna be able to sand this down, slick this thing out. It's gonna look really good underneath our 71 Buick GS. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.